In the Long Run is a new book by our own Jim Axelrod. It speaks in his own way of the pursuit of happiness that beckons us all. That pursuit has taken Jim out across the country to two very different communities for our Sunday morning cover story.
Just look at him. 5 minutes from his office, fly fishing on a gorgeous spring morning before heading to work. What's not to like about Dave Query's life?
How big a component of happiness is where you live?
I think it's a huge part. Lived in San Francisco, lived in Miami, New York City, Chicago, and I just think that this community for me and what I wanted to do, it just fit.
This community is Boulder, Colorado, where Dave, who owns a restaurant called What Else? Happy, is far from the only one who's mainlining the vibe of well-being.
There's an energy here you just don't feel in other places.
Ingrid Asmus wouldn't walk her dog, Strider, anywhere else.
Up there, the spring beauties are blooming, and the bluebells are out, and the sand lilies are starting to come out.
And yet you're only 5 minutes from downtown.
Mm-hmm.
If happiness is a state of mind, then Boulder is its capital. But don't just take their word for it.
What's the place this year that had the highest well-being in America?
That'd be Boulder, Colorado.
Take Dan Witter's word. He runs the Gallup Healthways Well-Being Index, a projected 25-year study, the most in-depth ever, of Americans' overall satisfaction with life.
We talk to 1,000 American adults every single night, every night of the year. So by the end of the year, you've captured 350,000 respondents.
Gallup has interviewed more than 1 million Americans since 2008, enough to map our happiness. No surprise, on a statewide level, Hawaii heads the top 10. But this isn't just about good weather. Wyoming, North Dakota, Alaska, and Colorado are next, and no southern states made the list. But overall, we're pretty happy. In a CBS News poll released today, 91% of us say we're either very happy or fairly happy. That leaves just 9% who say they could be happier. But the Gallup research digs deeper, beyond vague feelings of happiness, to gather more measurable data on 55 aspects of overall well-being. Everything from emotional and physical health to how satisfied we are with work. After all the data was analyzed, Gallup ranked the level of well-being in 188 metropolitan areas, from highest to lowest, and Boulder's at the top.
What's going on right in Boulder?
Well, they're taking care of themselves, for one thing. Obesity is only 13%, smoking is only 13%, so they've got a very good handle on how to care for themselves in terms of their health. And so happiness is high, stress is low.
So no surprise that all this adds up to the top of the list. But where there's a top, there's a bottom. And how do you find happiness there? So if Boulder, Colorado is at the top of the well-being index, what's the city in America at the bottom?
Well, Huntington, West Virginia has the unhappy distinction of being dead last in 2010 in the well-being index measurement.
Huntington, West Virginia is a former coal mining and industrial boomtown, now struggling with unemployment, an aging population, and most of all, poor health.
There's no denying that a lot of the health problems that we see in this community are due to lifestyle choices, whether they smoke or drink or eat foods that are high in sugar and fat, whether they exercise.
Doug Shields is Director of Public Relations at the Cabell Huntington Hospital. To be fair, he says, it's not the city of Huntington, but the large pockets of poverty in the surrounding areas that drag the well-being numbers down. Still, he admits the region has its challenges.
One thing we know for certain, these statistics aren't going to change by doing nothing. And so we're doing everything that we can in our community to act and to change these statistics.
To put it simply, Huntington needs a happiness project.
I think people don't think about happiness enough.
Which is just the job for Gretchen Rubin. This New Yorker is a former Supreme Court clerk who 6 years ago had an epiphany and turned her first-rate intellect loose on happiness.
So I was on a bus in the pouring rain, and I didn't have anything to distract myself. And I just looked out the window and I thought, what do I want from life anyway? I thought, well, I want to be happy. But I realized I didn't spend any time thinking about whether I was happy or how I could be happier.
And so the Happiness Project was born. She picked 12 areas of life, from marriage to money to mindfulness.
Ready to go?
And concentrated on one a month for a year. She ended up happier and with some prescriptions for the rest of us.
Happiness can seem very complicated and transcendent, so a good place to start is with your own body. So even things like getting enough sleep and getting a little bit of exercise are things that are going to boost your mood, give you a better sense of focus, give you more energy, and then it's easier to do all the other things that will make you happier. So just starting with your body is a good place.
What Gretchen rediscovered was the wisdom of that old saying, happiness is a journey, not a destination, and one best guided by daily incremental changes in lifestyle, with one above all.
Ancient philosophers and contemporary researchers agree that maybe the key to happiness, if you had to pick just one thing, the key is probably strong relationships with other people. So take the trip to see your sister's new baby, go to the reunion, throw a party, show up. You know, so often just taking the time to show up.
Connection.
Connection.
Will you guys come and sing and cook?
Back in West Virginia, Andy Leffingwell is working on connecting with the community at Huntington's Kitchen.
Today we're fixing a healthy Kentucky burger.
An outreach center where she promotes healthy eating.
You know, we're not going to change everybody overnight, so we're just trying to work on having fun and teaching cooking, getting families in this kitchen together. So we're just making it an initiative here in town to eat healthier.
It's the same recipe that's made Dave Query so happy in Boulder. Connection.
I don't think there's anything in the water or anything in the soil that's making this what it is. It's just a really amazing place, and it has collected in a really amazing array of people. Good to see you. But I do think there's a lot of towns like that in America.
Which seems to be what all those Gallup numbers add up to. No matter where you live, rather than winning the lottery or rewiring your soul, being happier is really just a matter of taking that first small step in the right direction.
Sometimes the difference between who we are today and who we want to be or wish that we were are very small things. They aren't big steps, they're little steps. What you need to do is have the knowledge that if you take that step, there's going to be something better on the other side. And that's at the core of the well-being equation.